Federal government addressing security challenges. Vice President Shetima assures fellow of security institutes.
Security don't just happen. They are the result of collective consensus and public investment.
Senate approves troop deployment to Benin Republic for peacekeeping mission.
The swiftness of this action is what made the Nigerian Senate to give its consent.
Finance and budget ministers in closed session with lawmakers.
Good morning, Nigeria. Today we shall focus on human rights, daily essential.
December 10 is marked around the world as Human Rights Day, a day set aside to remind us of the basic freedoms and protections that belong to every human being.
True, and this year's theme, human rights, it's in a document. They show up in how we live our daily lives.
Yes, how we live our daily life. Be it the right to speak or the right to work, to the right to live in safety. These are things many people still struggle to enjoy fully.
And across the world, especially in developing democracies, the conversation is no longer just about rights on paper, but rights in practice.
Right in practice. Today on Good Morning Nigeria, we will be looking at what human rights really mean in our society, the progress made so far, and the gaps that still need to be closed.
It is a conversation that touches every home and every community. I am Victor as a welcome.
And I'm Ademola Adeoye. Thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria this day, Wednesday. We are live on network service of the NTA. Up next is the morning news with Chineye Nwoye. And after that, we'll go straight into today's discussion. Good morning, Chineye.
Good morning, Ademola and Victor. Here is the news. Nigeria is taking decisive steps in tackling security challenges in the country and is acting promptly to address the concerns. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this when participants of the Executive Intelligence Management Course 18 of the National Institute for Security Studies visited him at the Presidential Villa, Abuja.
As Nelson Mandela rightly said, safety and security don't just happen. They are the result of collective consensus and public investment. And we owe our children, the most vulnerable citizens in our society, a life free of violence and fear. The President will act on your recommendations because they are based on informed analysis.
The Nigerian Senate on Tuesday granted expeditious approval to President Bola Tinubu's request to deploy Nigerian troops to Republic of Benin for peacekeeping mission. The deployment is in line with ECOWAS protocol and in conformity with the provisions of Sections 5, Part 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
We provided all we could to support our brothers and sisters in the rest of Africa. So the role of the president is, again, in tandem with what past leaders of Nigeria had always done. But the swiftness of this action is what made the Nigerian Senate to give its consent.
The Nigerian Air Force has clarified reports regarding the diversion of a NAF C-130 aircraft during its ferry mission on 8 December 2025 to Portugal for maintenance. Following takeoff from Lagos, the crew observed a technical concern which necessitated a precautionary landing in Bobo de Lasso, Burkina Faso, the nearest airfield in accordance with standard safety procedures and international aviation protocols. NAF crew is safe and have received cordial treatment from the host authorities. A statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ehimen Ejodame, indicates that plans are ongoing to resume the mission as scheduled. And a call to defend democracy and strengthen institutions tops the agenda of the 55th Ordinary Session of ECOWAS Security Council declared open at the ministerial level in Abuja. The ECOWAS leadership commended Nigeria's rapid intervention in repelling the recent coup attempt in Benin, together with Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire.
We have today must move beyond just reaffirming principles. They must generate decisions that offer real hope and strengthen the credibility of our institutions.
The House of Representatives, during Tuesday's plenary, engaged the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, as well as his budget and economic planning counterpart, Atiku Bagudu, in a closed-door session on the floor of the House. The session, which lasted 2.5 hours, was chaired by Speaker Abbas Tajuddin. Neither the ministers nor lawmakers disclosed the issues deliberated behind closed doors. It would, however, be recalled that lawmakers have recently expressed concern over delay in implementation of the capital component of the 2025 Appropriation Act. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Exploration and Production Limited, the flagship upstream subsidiary of NNPC Limited, achieved a record production level of 355,000 barrels of oil per day on December 1st, 2025, its highest daily output since 1989. A statement by Andy Ode, Chief Corporate Communications Officer, NNPC Limited, says the milestone marks a significant step forward for Nigeria's upstream sector and reflects the company's ongoing transformation anchored on efficiency and discipline. He noted that the figures represent genuine transformation, with average daily production surged to 52%, rising from 203,000 barrels per day in 2023 to 312,000 in 2025. The presidential targets of 2 million barrels per day by 2027 and 3 million by 2030 have often appeared aspirational, and now NNPCL's delivery brings this closer to reality. And those are the highlights of the news at this time. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Ademola and Victor after the break. Do stay.
The Renewed Hope Initiative RHI presents the RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow. This national competition is in 3 categories. The household category is a tree planting competition amongst 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. Each participating household in Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara states will plant a minimum of 1 tree to qualify, with a video evidence of before and after the tree planting exercise. 20 million naira will be awarded to the best household. Submission deadline is 20th December 2026. Community category will see local governments, local communities, schools, and NGOs reclaim and transform degraded or abandoned areas such as dump sites, landfills, parks, and their likes into green, vibrant gardens, parks, and eco-friendly spaces. 50 million naira would be awarded to the overall best community group. Deadline for submission is 15th July 2026. State category will have all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, excluding Enugu State, have a chance to address the growing threats to environmental sustainability and cleanliness. States will be judged based on the number of trees planted on major roads and inner streets and how clean they are. 100 million naira will be awarded to the best performing state. Already, Enugu State has 100 million naira for being RHI's model green state due to its greenery and cleanliness. Video evidence must be submitted by participating states on or before 20th December 2026. All entries must be directed to RHI Office, State House, Abuja, or email rhi.greenchallenge@statehouse.gov.ng. RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Now money point oh.
Money points, thank you.
No worry, yourself go make am. Mo go buy ball.
Victor, even you they use money point?
Of course now, they use money points.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
Power Oil Light. Light enough for movement. Real enough for taste. Power Oil. My choice for my family. They always come back for seconds. I know why. Power Oil. My choice for my family.
Guys, food is ready.
Cook to impress.
And the National Productivity Order of Merit Award goes to...
The only tomato paste manufacturer to win the National Productivity Order of Merit Award by the Federal Government of Nigeria, endorsed by the Association of Private Medical Practitioners of Nigeria. This is an evidence of 100% natural goodness. Eat healthy to live longer. Buy now and enjoy up to 20% discount.
Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. The city is moving. New voices, heavy drip, all heart. From the streets to the stage, this is the next Afrobeat star.
What are we here for? Let's Afrobeat star. Let's get nasty.
And the talents from all over showed up to own the room. But they're not alone.
Spiritual. Gospel.
All chasing a slot to face the judges. Puffy T, SARS, Andre Vibes, P Pride. Catch next Afrobeat star on.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Up next on the program is the newspaper review.
Well, our newspaper reviewer is here, Chukwudi Okoli Ugbaja. Chuks.
Don't try Chuks the boy, please. It's this morning.
I just swallowed it now.
This morning is Croaky Chuks the boy or Chuks the man, whatever. I've turned 68, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Small boy. Vicky!
Don't worry, we'll get there.
You're there pretending intensely to be a good man. We know the truth about you.
Well, I'm good. It's just that maybe not to you. We're rivals.
Good to see you guys as usual.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let's begin with the leadership. And I'd like to start with this tiny strip. I don't know why it's in that tiny strip. Senate summons aviation minister over spike in domestic airfares. That story is on page 27. I hope Chukwudi takes note. And employers failed to enroll 73.23 million workers for contributory pension scheme. It's on page 4. Above the nameplate, Senate okays troop deployment to Benin as ECOWAS says community in state of emergency. And the rider reads, Nigeria Sahel states differ over aircraft landing in Burkina Faso. And just beside that story on page 26, I joined All Progressives Congress to protect Rivers people's interest. That's credited to Governor Fubara. And still on the front page of the leadership, Osun Governor Adeleke defects to Accord parties on page 26. Police officer to die by hanging for killing just undergraduate, page 7. Only 6 million out of 30 million primary pupils advanced to secondary school. That's according to Alausa on page 25. And finally from here, killing soldiers worse than kidnapping school children, Gumi claims. And that story is on page 7. So we'll move over to The Guardian. And The Guardian talks about Fubara and Adeleke's exit, shattering embattled PDP, and dims 2027 hopes. That's on page 6. Nigeria faces more shortage as Canada rolls out express entry for doctors, on page 2. Soyinka condemns military intervention in Benin and Lagos demolitions. That's on page 2. And ECOWAS lauds Nigeria for foiling Benin coup attempt on page 3. Senate halts WAEC curriculum change over concerns for 2026 candidates is on page 3. And TCN faces reps panel, hinges instability on vandalism and gas shortage. You find details of that on page 5. Debola.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Victor. I have the Nation's newspaper with me, and just above the nameplate, education budget has risen by 1.98 billion in 2 years, says Shatima. 1.98 trillion in 2 years, says Shatima. Fagbemi, 860 terrorism convictions secured in 7 years. Details of that story can be found on page 3. Nasarawa Assembly suspend Lafia Council boss. ECOWAS lauds Nigeria for Benin Republic intervention. Details of that story is on page 2. Then we have EFCC quizzes ex-AGF Malami over alleged terrorism financing. My public record unblemished. Details of that headline story can be found on page 2. Fubara joins APC as Adeleke picks Accord party ticket. Why we changed parties, governors explained. Then Sani challenges lawyers on integrity, ethical rebirth. Then page 5, vaccine for Jigawa Council. All right, over to you, Chooks.
So Adeleke is in Accord now.
Oh yeah, he's in Accord.
Fubara is in the interest of Rivers people. He didn't define how much his interest was also at stake.
He was explaining yesterday that
politicians would be politicians.
He was saying yesterday that if not for the president, he wouldn't be still governor of Rivers State. Maybe he would have been kicked out.
I think he has a point. When Amaule and his people total up to how many? 27 in their assembly, they're in the opposition, they have all they needed to impeach him easily.
Yeah.
So he was sounding like a wise man. But what you want to look at is all the things that came together to culminate in that kind of situation. Were there not things preventable if we were really people accountable to those who voted for us properly? If we don't play politics with everything. In fact, I'm looking for that day. I'm waiting for that day when the electorate would have a voice, really, in deciding how those they voted for behave even while in office. Maybe impeachment should go beyond the members of the
House
and all that to the people, so that we can have our say. You know, it sounds naive and maybe even simplistic, but then you never know.
You know, I remember when late Senator Patrick Osakwe picked the ticket of Accord Party in Delta many years ago for the Senate. And I asked him, you left PDP for Accord? He said, well, it is according to the PDP.
I didn't know he was even out of primary school that time. Victor, I'm sorry, all the things I say about you. You're a great man. Anyhow, Gumi is saying that killing soldiers was than kidnapping school children. I don't know the context he's saying that in. Nobody should be left in harm's way. And our soldiers, anyway, mean a lot to us. If you look at it critically, when you kill soldiers, the school children are exposed. The farmers are exposed.
Everybody is exposed. Everybody is exposed.
So they're the first line of defense, come to think of it. But I've not read it, so let me not go, speculating what he was talking about there. ECOWAS. So this is the way it goes. Tell me a case that has been different in the ones you have seen. The lawyers will tell you there's a precedent. In this case, we can rely on. What is the precedent in terms of a military setup that served any country in Africa? That's the point. People should not have a short memory. I like those Nigerian jets that jetted across
the problem is now, what I see is just that this trend is just in the countries of the French-speaking countries in West Africa.
Yes. Well, come to think of it, I don't think France handled its former colonies well. The exploitation, they say, was too much. Mining, what is this very precious...
is that what they are rebelling against?
It was part of it. It was exploitation. There was new colonialism, come to think of it. Let's give it to them. But then, sometimes I tell African people, you're complaining about things you could have controlled yourself. Because the French had to use some people to make sure that what you use in, nuclear weapons. Come on, what's the name there now? That the mining of that, the Africans themselves would have put out fee.
Someone's aviation minister overspike in domestic affairs. Let's see, to think that some people are thinking about it because the fare is hovering around between 300 and 400,000 naira at the moment.
I was listening to one analysis
Maybe
yesterday.
I was stoutly abstaining from something I could no longer afford. So why talk about it? But Victor, you have a point. Terrorism in the air. They know now that many people cannot use our roads anymore. They would rather borrow money to fly. I think they're exploiting it. Fine. The summer has sees an increase in airfares across the world when the weather is better, when people travel, tourism is at its peak.
Nevertheless, we must come to terms with existential reputational threats to our national brand, in which external purveyors of untruths are mischaracterizing our nation as a destination for the so-called persecution of people based on their religious faith. This is a propaganda externally woven by those who want to break or weaken our unity. For the umpteenth time, I'm emphatic that there is no iota of truth in the communication that is out there, that there is a deliberate, calculated effort where one particular religion is targeted for extermination. I therefore urge us to use the instrument
Little body, big moves. Little brain, big learning. Your little child is eager to do big things. Every sachet comes with the nutrients they need every day. Made from natural grains, contains protein and fortified with iron to support their physical growth, learning, and development. So you can fully enjoy your little one's big moments of growth.
Evie, you look worried. What's going on?
My big cousin in the university might have to drop out of school. He can't afford his school fees.
Oh no, that's not fair. Wait,
What is it, Tomiwa?
I remember my dad talking about something called Nail Fund. He said it could help university students pay their school fees.
Nail Fund? What is that?
Hey, Captain Excellence! Do you also know about Nail Fund?
Absolutely, Tomiwa. Now Fund is a federal government initiative that aims to provide financial assistance to students pursuing higher education. Now Fund not only gives money for school fees, but even school allowances, called stipends. It's the government's way of keeping their promise that no child will be left behind.
Really? You mean this Tinubu government?
Yes, now. You see, Now Fund is a government loan that helps you pay for school, and you only start paying it back later, little by little.
Ha! It's a loan. Doesn't that mean my big cousin will be swimming in debt?
Not exactly. First, this loan comes with no interest. You only start paying back when you get a job. Even then, it will be just a tiny bit at a time.
My dad says it's just like what they do in other countries like America.
Wow! This is a great idea.
See? With a Now Fund, everyone can go to school even if you don't have money. Look at those smiles.
Wow! That's amazing. I am going to tell my big cousin right now.
Remember, Now Fund is here to help every young Nigerian get the education they deserve. No child should be left behind.
All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. To begin our conversation on human rights daily essential, here is a background report put together by correspondent Ibrahim Bello Gunda.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the United Nations General Assembly in 1948 enshrines the fundamental rights and freedoms that belongs to every person, including the right to health and well-being. This is not always the case with challenges ranging from conflicts, displacement to climate-related emergencies, hence the protection and promotion of human rights, especially those of marginalized and vulnerable populations. As the world commemorates Human Rights Day with the theme, Human Rights, Our Everyday Essentials, the campaign underscores that human rights are practical, achievable, and guarantees of safety, dignity, and equality in an unpredictable world. The day also focuses on challenges of insecurity, justice, and protecting rights amid national challenges, with activities including dialogue, awareness, and call for action against abuses like gender-based violence, among others. In essence, Human Rights Day in Nigeria serves as a crucial moment for reflection, advocacy, and demanding stronger commitment to justice, equality, and dignity for all citizens. How can Nigeria ensure the protection of the rights of all? What are the challenges mitigating the protection of the rights of Nigerians, especially vulnerable groups? And how will those whose rights were infringed upon seek help? These and more are some of the questions guests on Good Morning Nigeria will find answers to on the program.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for that background report and for those questions, which I know that our guests are ready to provide answers to them. We already have some of our guests in the studio, and just let me first introduce Dr. Romy Mom. Is the Executive Director, Lawyers Alert. Good morning, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good to have you join us.
Glad to be here.
All right. Also joining us on this discussion is Hilary Ogbonna. He's the Senior Human Rights Advisor, National Human Rights Commission. Good to have you join us. Ogbonna.
Thank you for having us too. Thank you.
All right.
And via Zoom, we have been joined by Professor Joy Ngozi Ezilo, SAN, Life Bencher and Executive Director, Women and Collective. Women Aid Collective.
Bringing to the country today, and the last but not the least, are the issue of the shrinking civil space. The ability to express yourself, and equality, and and digital rights, and all of that. These are issues that today, for the ordinary Nigerian, the everyday essentials of human rights, so to speak, bothers the Nigerian. Not minding the reforms that are being put in place, are they really translating to bread on the table every morning? You know, these are rights. And when we approach this issue from the right-based perspective in saying these are human rights that should be protected and fulfilled by the government, then government has, you know, the added responsibility of focusing on economic reforms in a manner that, you know, translates, like I said, to real benefits in terms of arrest, muzzling, freedom of speech. You post something on maybe the social media, you're picked up and all of that. Or we're using the Cybercrime Act in terms of seeing that the country is not robbed of what can come to it through money laundering and all of that.
In a nutshell, would you say that Nigerians have now become more aware of their human rights, or that they have rather become more helpless in enforcing them?
Wow, that's very interesting. To the first part, yes, Nigerians are more aware of their human rights. Are they helpless in terms of means of enforcing them? Then you need to unpack that means of enforcement, either through the courts or even through the National Human Rights Commission and through other mediation avenues. The other mediation avenues have seen the disadvantage, or they've seen...
These are spaces that ordinarily people should have felt free. But due to so many competing factors, some of which Romy has mentioned, the insecurity in the country, the economic situation. I will just give you an example. Between the months of September and October, we recorded cases, complaints of child abandonment to the tune of about 2,200. These are men who just abandon their children. Okay, they either move on to another new marriage or just disappear because they couldn't cope with the hardship of and also with the requirement of fatherhood. The state is incapable. And when I use the state, I mean government, whether at federal, state, and local government, but most importantly, state and local government. Because truly, the federal government, this is not what the federal government should be doing. Okay, but state governments, what are they doing? The social care. Okay, the social care, because take it or leave it, even our fingers are not equal. There would always be the downtrodden amongst us. Even if you sort out everything, everybody, there are those who are permanently going to remain subjects of care for state. So how are we planning for them? How are we even projecting that their numbers would increase every day by day? How are we protecting women who are running away from domestic violence? I am sure that Professor Zilo will say much about this, but the truth is that that protection now is left for NGOs. And you know, under our law, domestic violence is also a crime. So why are men not tried for these crimes? Even if you don't try them for the crimes, how do you protect the survivors, the victims of these crimes? And these are crimes that are also human rights violations, sexual violence. Okay, sexual violence is now committed by even fathers on daughters, uncles on their nieces. So these are the things we face every day, and these are human rights that are hardly reported because of the social opprobrium, the stigma that is attached to them. And as we mark this very special day, we should always remember that in 1948, when the Universal Declaration, which we celebrate today, was promulgated, it had
Well, we need to just, cut that prof, perspective there because we are having some challenges concerning the audio. We'll get back to you later when the challenge is corrected. Let's come back to Dr. Romy now. We are looking at the various challenges,
in terms of making human rights an everyday essential for most of its citizens. Hillary talked about GBV. That is where it happens most in camps, in the IDP camps, where health is a challenge and all of that. I'll tell you something about the IDP camps. It's a route of violations that happens. First of all, persons are uprooted from their lands.
Okay.
Oftentimes, like in the Middle Belt, through the farmer herders conflict. In the north, probably through terrorism, whether it's Boko Haram in the northwest, and in the southeast, probably due to the fight for statehood at that point. But what is important is that the common decimal is everybody is displaced. And when you are displaced, it becomes something else. And so we must put National Population Commission is not in the camps to document deaths. Deaths are not documented. The type of violations that are coming out from the camps are those that are put forward by NGOs who operate in the camps, maybe at certain points, but not all through, because they are also in camps owing to some funding. And so we need to have the state come in a very deliberate manner in the camps.
Okay.
Provision of water, provision of health facilities, documentation, food, and all that. Food is a right. And when you go to the camps, all these things are no longer everyday essentials for the everyday Nigerian. I think the state should put in mechanisms where we have a deliberate roadmap to returning people home. A deliberate roadmap that is costed, and the state is actively involved in taking people back to their homes. They see what happens every day, and as a man, the man in you, as an African, which is the Afrocentric approach to human rights, for example, the African man is removed from you because you see your wife, you see your children suffering what you could have stood and said, never. Never. But it happens. It happens every day. And if you take people back to their homes and give them protection, then you have, look at what you're talking about, just to digress. If you look at the Benue-Nasarawa Plateau axis, the drop in food production, the food insecurity we're having in Nigeria today, that is another right that is being violated owing to the displacement and the insecurity. And so for me, the security architecture, the displacement of Nigerians from their homes,
very unsafe. We know the insecurity now, every parent's guardian worst nightmare. Depending on the part of country where you are located, your child goes to school, you will just be thinking, will they return safely to you? And some have taken proactive measures in withdrawing their children from school. Schools have also temporarily closed because of insecurity in order to put measures to ensure safety of school children. And then there are ones that also lack of sanitary facilities exposes them to further risk of being raped, of being violated because they have to use the bush. I recall one particular case where the Supreme Court judge said, assuming the school provided sanitary facility, as has been mentioned by Dr. Hillary Obonna, is on the rise. And there are additional ones that have emerged because of the current state of Nigeria and current situation of human rights. Spousal battery is on the increase because every day couples are battling for livelihood. So for those cases we receive, for example, at work, is that, he didn't provide for food. He gave me only 2,000 naira for 1 week. Where will it go? And they are fighting over food. The child stole because there was no food in the house, and then he went and saw something, or she went, and then he or she is reported. So these are things. That's why we should take human rights very seriously, and we look at also developmental challenges and see how we redefine even issues like corruption as a violation of human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Ezelo, for your perspective there. So we'll get back to you. Let's come back to the studio now. Mona, you've listened to, various, background concerning these human rights, the challenges, especially the basic essentials that, that we face in this country. What do you think individuals and communities can do to further promote human rights, since the government seems not to be doing enough?
I can tell you that our communities are already doing a lot, and we just need to support them. And I'll give you a very some examples. Communities set up mediation mechanisms. Women groups set up mechanisms to settle domestic quarrels. You also see traditional rulers setting up their own kind of court inside. There is this insecurity all over the place. We just heard about what happened in Lamurde in Adamawa State. Okay, these are women who came together also to protest. Whether they were killed by uniformed people or by militia, really it doesn't matter. What matters is that fundamental human rights of women who are already in conflict situation. Remember, they are already in conflict situation, ethnic violence, and now they are protesting lack of security support, and the life has been snuffed out of them. And it goes to also show the attitude of our country towards protest, this dissent, whether it is a group of activists or whether it is schools or whether it is anybody at all. You see the right to peaceful assembly. The day we stopped tolerating tolerance, tolerating even when a public official is assaulted. You heard what the president once said, that they insult me all the time. But I continue to face my work. This is the president of the country. Then why is this not going down? Why is law enforcement, once you say you are hitting the street, law enforcement's role is to ensure that you are protected. Every protester is protected. Safety, thank you. But at the end of the day, this thing will continue to go round to the extent that even in families, people will no longer tolerate each other. And that is the day we would have lost it. So I advocate today, the Commission advocates that the right to peaceful assembly, protest, freedom of expression, these are the essential human rights that we live with. Establishing the commission was changed, granting the commission a very independent statute and also wide-ranging powers. The only institution in Nigeria that investigates complaints of all human rights violations. We now expanded to the 36 states of the country, including FCT. We have powers to institute inquiries. We have powers to make determination of human rights cases, like a court. Okay, so we are a quasi-judicial body as well, and we have powers to determine compensations. Then we also have powers to institute civil proceedings, civil cases in defense of the human rights of people, and then for human rights violations that have across the country. We have offices we maintain across the country. Some of the offices now belong to the commission because the executive secretary has gone into making these buildings permanent, including building new ones. Now, in terms of enforcement, when we finish our investigation, when we find somebody culpable of having violated human rights, we don't have our own police. We still depend on the machinery of the state. Okay. We still depend on the security apparatus of the state to enforce these human rights. Now, what if it was a police officer that was found wanted? So we depend on the police
to prosecute
the police. So at the end of the day, that's where the shortcomings come. For the SARS panel, for instance, we received over 300. But we don't even want compensation to be paid. We don't want people to be killed. Okay, so we investigated the armed forces for 18 months over the Reuters report alleging that the armed forces committed 10,000 abortions. and also committed infanticide and killing of children. We found that they didn't commit abortion, but we also found that they committed extrajudicial killings in a village in Borno State. We've submitted that report even up to the Attorney General, to the Chief of Defense Staff. We are still waiting for the military to do the needful. So our job ends at a certain point. It is now left for the state able to ensure that human dignity, that law enforcement does not just carry itself as a law unto itself.
Okay.
One of the beautiful pieces of legislation we have in Nigeria today is the Police Act. But we need to internalize the contents of that Police Act. To every police recruit, constable, commissioner, superintendent, all over the Nigerian police force. If we get a responsive and a human rights centered law enforcement in Nigeria, you will be shocked the speed at which Nigeria's democracy would change and thrive. That's our position.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ogbonna. Let's get back to Prof now, Professor Ezelo now. We're looking at, how, the human rights,
Yeah, thank you so much. To start with, Nigeria has ratified all the core human rights treaties at international level, that is at United Nations level, and also at the regional level, African Union level. And all of those core human rights treaties are legally binding on Nigeria. And in terms of framework, nationally, we have human rights protected clearly on paper. On the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, we have fundamental human rights in Chapter 4. In Chapter 2, which some may say is not justiciable, but I believe it is when you think of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which Nigeria has not only ratified, but domesticated, transformed, and incorporated to be part of our domestic laws. So the problems have to do their bit to ensure actual protection. Because what is the importance of laws or human rights that actually doesn't work in practice, that people cannot realize? So implementation is crucial, and implementation of these standards are fraught with difficulties when it comes to cases of Nigeria. The frontline officers, law enforcement officers, administrators of justice in the justice delivery ecosystem, there are gaps, there are capacity gaps, there are also unwillingness to even protect. You detain a citizen, you don't even tell them for what offense, and you have a panel of inquiry at the end of NSA's judicial panel of inquiry for Enugu State, and we listened and we heard about police brutality, and sometimes you wonder whether these are straight from film or movie, but they are realities. And people have died from extrajudicial killings and no justice decades after. Nobody is held accountable. Accountability, low prosecution for violation of human rights are part of the problem. And the time is now. That is not just thinking of December 10th as a Human Rights Day to discuss all of this. We need to really have put in place frameworks and mechanisms to monitor and ensure full implementation of this standard. Yes, there has been some progress, because today in police station, you have also human rights desk, and within 48 hours where they have lawyers, they will tell you they cannot detain beyond that. But some are still not following that. And we know we have administration of criminal justice. People who are accused also have their human rights, and you protect those rights, just like, justice is not a one-way traffic. It's justice for the victim, the complainant, justice for the accused person, justice for the society, and of course the state as well. So when you look at all of this, you see that the problem of Nigeria with regard to essential, even all human rights, there is no longer categories of human rights, and we shouldn't prioritize which one is better. The human rights are interrelated. They are universal and they are interdependent. Economic rights even impact on the person's civil rights, basic right to life. Because if you don't have food to eat, then the person will die. If you don't have access to healthcare, how do you then ensure that right to life, how do you ensure it in reality? So they are all interconnected, and we must, and state are bound, whatever is there affected at the issue of human trafficking. Human trafficking, because of push and pull factors, the fact that the growing inequalities, the huge youth unemployment, the gender-based violence, conflict, they are all fueling and exacerbating not just the Japa syndrome, the unsafe migration, the trafficking of persons, where migrant smugglers are feeding on people's desperation to survive, and then it's making them fall prey to these migrant smugglers that just take money from them, and situation can quickly move from migrant smuggling to trafficking. And if you look at many countries, it's not just Europe, it's so sad, battling to survive, hoping to reach the promised land where they will have honey and milk flow on the street, or dollar and pounds. And it's not like that. But we have to take action to ensure safe migration, to curb
Lawyers Alert. Lawyers Alert offers free legal services. Lawyers Alert. Lawyers Alert offers free legal services, and we work with vulnerable groups. The most alarming case I have handled or have come across this year in the organization, again, is human rights violations that are perpetuated by state agencies. You see, we have sanctions that are not implemented. It's a motivation to just keep doing more and all of that. So state agencies in Nigeria, you take them to court, yes. Courts can give judgment, yes. But as Prof said, it's not about the judgments. It's can you get the fruits of your victory? Because sometimes even to implement a judgment against a state agency, sometimes you need to go to the Attorney General and get the leave or permission in some places to even implement that judgment. Where is the justice in this?
Come a bit too late, how?
Oh, you should have been here, what they call statute of limitation. I should have been here like 3 months or to complain and all of that when your breast was chopped off. I don't want to go into the judicial reasoning or whatever it is. All I'm saying is we're talking about the essentials of human rights. What it means to her is that the state has failed her, the courts have failed her, we have failed her, government has done the worst and moved away, and they're not bothered. They will do it again and again and again and again. And so for me, human rights, where is an issue of human rights, there shouldn't be any limitation, and that's what the law says. But judges have chosen the National Human Rights Commission as a coordinate organization for this should be resourced much more to do more than what they are doing. And like Professor Joyce Isiolo stated, given what they have, you must give the National Human Rights Commission their flowers, especially in the last 7-8 years. It's been a metric ascendance in terms of what they can do. We are praying and hoping that when the resources are given that will match the mandate, then we see an effective implementation of that mandate. And NGOs, civil society organizations, CBOs are doing so much, so much. And we need to see a very collaborative approach between not just these civil society organizations and the National Human Rights Commission, but also with other government agencies.
So it's the state agencies now that we have to hold account or violent extremism. Then child trafficking is on the increase in IDP camp. That's from Gideon Prince. And lastly, from Abdul Ibrahim Iyagi from Lafia. He said, good morning, Nigeria. Improving human rights in Nigeria requires daily respect for the rule of law, accountability and justice. Security agencies must operate lawfully, while citizens should freely express themselves without fear. Public awareness of rights should be promoted in communities, schools, and workplace. Before you respond to some of these comments, The director is urging us to go for the third break. So stay with us. We'll be back after this break.
Confidence is important in life's little moments. Strong teeth can help, even if they get her into trouble sometimes. A great smile is useful to break the ice, and making friends is easier when you know you have fresh breath. I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. Its antibacterial action formula gives them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath. The confidence of 3 toothpaste in 1. Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
You have no better friend and partner than Nigeria. Let this unveiling today be a call to conscience. Let our practitioners hold the line of truth. To the media, please inform with integrity and with a deep sense of patriotism. To our public officers, communicate with transparency. To citizens, please let us speak with empathy. Let us come together to become the voice of responsibility, the voice of the world that heals division, that inspires hope, and drives development.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And our conversation is still on human rights, its essentials. We have our guest in the studio. And before we went on break, that short break, we read out some of the comments and questions sent to us by you, our viewers, which our guest here would like to respond to. Okay, Ogbonna, I read out some of these comments and would like to, before we go to Prof, maybe you get your response.
I think my first shot is that the comments you read is a testimony of the fact that Nigerians understand their human rights. I mean, these are ordinary citizens communicating about rights and also espousing the principles as if in terms of also the provision for those who are displaced and what we call durable solutions, your plan to take them back home. And in all of this, Governor Zulum has excelled. And I dare say that he is one governor that understands and prioritizes human rights. The state government has even gone further to begin to talk about transitional justice, transitional and restorative justice, through which they hope to not only resettle the victims of the Boko Haram conflict, but also to talk about how to rekindle their trust in government, in their community, some of which they are even looking beyond to talk about compensation, which is what we call restorative justice, and also to begin to reconcile communities who, as a result of the Boko Haram conflict, are already torn apart. And we think that most states, especially in the north, especially in the northwest, should begin to borrow some leaf from what Zulum is doing, the economic side, the social side, but more of the legal and political intervention. And this, we really think, is some of our best practices in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, Hilary Obonna. Let me get back to Professor Joy Ezilo. I keep referring the gender questions to you because you are the sole rep in this regard, even though Hilary Obonna said men should be prosecuted, and I wonder why women shouldn't be prosecuted if they commit gender-based violence. Prof, if there is one law that you could change today to protect women, which would it be and why?
I would say child support law and issues around inheritance. There is this problem called the next of kin palaver. Sometimes family members, people working, are asked for their next of kin. probably before they get married, they will put their brothers or their siblings or whatever. And then they don't change it, or some will even believe that their blood relation will protect them better. And when they don't unimaginable happen or death, you don't know when it will come. And then the next of kin mentioned begins to claim right. And most to the disadvantage of the family of the deceased, and I mean nuclear family, the wife and the children. So that is important to be very clear, even though Supreme Court have pronounced on the right of women and girls to inheritance as a constitutional right. Social safety net is very paramount, and child support must be an obligation. You can't have children abandon, go to another relationship, have another children and abandon. We have taken note of even the phenomenon of Abuja marriage, where people really don't get married, they cohabit, and then they have children, and they go from one to the other. So we need to make sure that children brought into this world do not suffer. We have to remind ourselves that human rights is a right for all, whether you're a child, whether you're a woman, whether you're a person with disability, whether you're a man. You must enjoy your human rights. And so if the violation is committed by a woman, then she should also be held accountable. But I want to say, and it's important to emphasize that violations of human rights are not only by state actors. It's not something that we think of vertically.
Well done, NTA. Many thanks for the topic of discussion today. It says, for the purpose of this discussion, human rights can never be fully realized in this world, but rather in the world of ideal. Where one person's rights stops, that is where another person's rights begins. And that's from Kayode Busari in Lagos. And to the second, in my opinion, here is that powerful, the problem here is that powerful individuals lack regards for institutions. How can this be solved for the laws to be implemented as it should be? And that's from Asogwa Celestine. I don't know how Romy Mom reacts to this. Human rights cannot be attained here, but in the world of ideal.
Largely, yes, I agree. The government doesn't have the resources to build houses for everybody, because shelter is a human right. So you try your best to give the enabling environment for everybody to own a home, and government is doing that through little things. Education is a right, so we are doing things with issues like JSS, primary education is free, and all of that, trying to see how those are the progressive, ways to work towards this. But before one other thing that came up very strongly for me here is this issue of communities. Mm-hmm. And I want to share an experience of communities taking advantage of the law to secure themselves. Because security is quite an issue. And like here,
being responsible for the safety and welfare
exactly.
of the people living in the
environment. So now it is being put as a no, they didn't want to know. I said we are together. Before I knew what was happening, windscreen cracked. Windscreen cracked. In fact, I had to shield my face so that the glasses,
the debris.
But immediately they all passed. I just drove to where I parked the car, waiting for when I will mobilize funds to change my windscreen. If I report to police, who would they arrest? If I report to police, am I saying now that police should go, and knowing what police will do, it will not even be my windscreen that we'll be talking about anymore. That was wrong. Just imagine if police was amongst in the protest. Police would have just condoned them off my car, and they continue to go their way. The presence of a policeman alone would not have made them climb. In fact, one of them climbed on the bonnet and was using his leg to kick the windscreen, and his leg got stuck.
Wow. In the windscreen?
In the windscreen. So I had to put on the handbrake and push his feet off, so that I am not even going to be a judge void. Okay. That's, I keep mentioning this phrase, this civilization called human rights. Mm-hmm. Okay, when you begin to add narratives into it,
you are diluting that this is a God-given element. This is our humanity. So just like somebody wakes dates for Supreme Court appeal for 2027. In fact, I hear that 2027 is even a very close date. But if it is a political case, between political parties, between government, so what do we prioritize?
We have to stop
because
okay. We are running out of time, and I still have a couple more messages, to take.
Okay,
before Demola takes his question with Prof.
Okay.
Let me just take a couple of these questions.
Okay.
Now, this one says, human rights desks should be made accessible to all without intimidation or harassment. That's from Ibrahim Bu.
The challenges and opportunities, for human rights in the context of, we're talking about digital technology and social media.
Yeah. Thank you. I think with new technologies, they present opportunities for raising awareness and also exposing violators and ensuring accountability. And in Nigeria, it's working, and we have seen few cases where even people, high-powered, high-level, people have been persecuted just because something has gone viral. But of course, the divide, because someone in rural area without electricity, without a service provider, or cannot even afford it, will not be able to use those, or even maybe digitally illiterate. But working now, we